In these short introductory videos about using the Crumble controller, today we're looking at connecting the Crumble to a motor and then adding in a push switch to control the motor. So here are the set of components and parts that we'll need for this activity. We've got the Crumble board in the middle. We've got a battery pack with 3 AA batteries already inside. We've got the USB lead to connect the Crumble to the computer later on. Here we've got the motor, and we've also got a wheel so that we can see the motor turn more easily. We've a few crocodile clips here, and we've got a push switch that we're going to be using to turn the motor on and off. So to start with, we're going to connect the battery box to the Crumble board. When you look at the Crumble, you'll see that on one side we've got all the different components that actually make up the Crumble, and on this other side we've got the board divided into 3 sections. At the top of the board we've got a power section, which has a plus and minus power connector on this right hand side, and then another plus and minus power connector on the left. Then in the middle of the board we've got 4 connector points labelled A, B, C and D. And then the third section has some more plus and minus connectors, this time labelled 1 on the right and 2 on the left. And this is the area where we're going to connect our motor to in a moment. We said that we were going to connect the battery, so my battery has just got bare wires on the end of it. You might have a different type, but you need to be able to connect up the positive from the battery to a positive power connector on the Crumble board. So I'm going to connect a red crocodile clip to the end of my red wire, and I'm going to connect the other end to the positive power connector on the Crumble. Let's use the one here on the right. You can put the crocodiles in from the top, or pointing down from the bottom, or pointing out sideways. I'll do it from the side so that I can lay it flat and don't hide the writing. Just an aside that if you've got a battery box that comes with a Crumble starter pack, that has connector points instead of wires, like this one on the screen. So you'll need to connect the plus connector on the battery box to one of the plus connectors on the Crumble power section. To connect up the negative from the battery, we'll take another crocodile clip. This time I'll use a black one to match the black wire coming out of the battery box. We can connect this to one of the negative connectors on the Crumble power section, like that. Okay, so that's our battery box connected. So now we're going to connect the motor. You'll see that my motor's got crocodile clips already connected. If your motor's just got bare wires at the ends, then you can do like I did from a battery box and use a crocodile clip to connect the bare wire to the Crumble. So we're going to connect the motor to the bottom third of the Crumble controller. We can either use side 1 or 2, but I'm going to use motor 1 here on the right. So the red wire goes to the plus connector and the black wire goes to the minus connector. When the motor spins, at the moment only a small axle on the motor will turn. So to see it more clearly, we can connect this wheel to the axle. You'll see that the hole in the middle of the wheel has got 2 flat sides, as has the axle that sticks out from the motor. So we need to make sure that the 2 are aligned correctly and push them together. We're going to leave the switch for a while now, and we're going to pause to check that we can get the motor working first. So what we now need to do is to connect the small end of the USB lead to the connector at the top of the Crumble, and the larger end of the USB cable needs to go into a USB port on my computer. So now we're going to program the software to control what we've just built. For this we need to have the Crumble software already downloaded and opened up on our computer. So this is our Crumble software window. We've got a program start block that we can drag across to the main panel to start our program off. Then we program in the motor, so we want to drag the motor block across and connect it to the connector that's on the program start block. We're then going to need to add in a short delay so that we can see the action of the motor. So we'll drag across the wait, but 1 second's a bit short, so let's make it 3 seconds. So then we need the motor to stop. We haven't got a motor stop block, but if you drag the forward one across and then click on forward, it goes to reverse and then again to stop. So that's our program. We now need to run it by pressing the green arrow, and that's it. The program's uploaded successfully onto our Crumble. So we've now uploaded the code that we've just written from the computer onto our Crumble controller. My battery's turned off at the moment. If yours is on or doesn't have a switch, your wheel will already be spinning. But if I turn mine on, you can see that the wheel does start spinning. If you don't have a switch on your battery pack and your wheel is spinning constantly, you can disconnect one of the power leads from the Crumble and then your wheel will stop. So that's our motor connected and working correctly. Our next video will be looking at adding in a switch.